Alright guys, hope everyone is well and welcome back to the channel. So today is a non-training day and it's a Sunday, which is the day I always check in with my coach. So I'm going to take you through a full day of eating on the non-training day, as well as just take you through my day as a whole, as well as give you some tips when it comes to appetite management throughout a dieting phase, or even if you're just trying to maintain your body weight. So first of all, I wake up and then first thing I do is weigh myself on a Sunday and then take the check-in photos for my coach. What you'll notice is I've got something in my mouth. I know some people wonder what this is and have maybe seen it on my Instagram if you follow me on Instagram. It's basically a Bluetooth clicker. So it's like what you get with selfie sticks. It allows you to take a photograph by clicking a button. And the reason I use this is when you record a video on an iPhone or any other camera and then you screenshot the stills from that video, the quality of it diminishes, which can maybe influence your ability for your coach to assess your body composition effectively. So as a result, I use a Bluetooth clicker. It also saves you having to take a video, go through it, and then screenshot the shots, and allows the quality to be much better, as I touched on. So that's how I start my day, and then after I've took my check-in shots, what I'll basically do is hydrate myself. So I will have a good 1.5 litres of water, and with that water I will have electrolytes and also creatine. And currently I take 10 grams a day of creatine. The reason being is creatine shown to have a positive effect on cognitive function, your ability to uptake carbohydrates. So there's benefits of having over 5 grams, and also it helps with sleep deprivation. So I'll take my supplements and then glutamine as well. And then I sit down after prepping my food and have my first meal before rushing off for personal training. Hence why I'm doing a voiceover here. Didn't quite have time to talk you through it. So I'll have my first meal, which was 120 grams of 5% mince, one whole egg, 150 grams of mushrooms, and also 25 grams of onion, which I absolutely love, one of my favourite meals. And I'll also give you some tips in the video on how to manage your appetite when you're in a dieting phase. First of which is going to be caffeine. Caffeine acts as a good appetite suppressant, so it's a good tool to potentially use when you're in a diet, especially when maybe energy is a wee bit lower towards the end, as well as it having ability to increase your calories burned at rest, your basal metabolic rate. So it's a great tool in that regard. And with caffeine, we want to be mindful of its half-life of 5 hours, meaning if you have a cup of coffee at, let's say, midday, half of that coffee will be in your system at 5 p.m. at night. And what most people don't think about is not only will half of that coffee be in your system, but if you had like another serving of caffeine, that caffeine as well can still be lingering. For example, if I wake up, if I slam, let's say 9 in the morning, a Monster, 160 milligrams of caffeine, then by the time it's, let's say, like 2 in the afternoon, I'll still have 80 milligrams of that caffeine in my system. So if I then have a coffee at that time, I've not just got half of the coffee in my system at 7 p.m. I've also got that and also half of 80 milligrams of caffeine. So 40 milligrams from that Monster and that coffee. So there you can see can have a knock-on effect on sleep, especially when caffeine intake's high. So yeah, keep it 8 hours from bed. That's a good rule to stand by. But if you can get away with it earlier, even better, because we know sleep quality's got a big impact on your ability to mobilize body fat, hold performance as you're dieting down. And yep, so busy morning. I woke up, got my meals prepped for the day, checked in with my coach myself, and also got a few check-ins done, then headed to personal training. I'm just back from personal training and I am now having another coffee, which I am keeping again a good 8 hours from bed. And I'll speak to you after. Don't really want to chat too much now. I want to crack on, get back to my client responses. That's something I always prioritise in my day. That comes before any sort of other work on my business. That comes before any sort of like chilling out, etc. Always get that done and out the way and make sure my response times are nice and swift for my clients without the quality being diminished. Hi Stuart, hope you're well and thanks very much regarding your check-in. So in terms of your improvements this week, so you stayed pretty consistent while of course travelling, so away on of course your trip to Berlin, which I hope you had an amazing time, as well as in London, and still managed to box off all our sessions, which was brilliant, so well done there. Because I appreciate, obviously it is a lot of travel. You're in 3 countries in the space of a week. So yeah, well done for that. That's brilliant to see. And as for the new gym you were obviously training at in Berlin, yeah, it's not quite comparable, but the best way to know if you're going to be getting a good stimulus is your effort, making sure your effort and accuracy is good. Then you can be at peace with the fact you don't really have numbers to compare from the prior week. I'd also make sure, see, when you're training, when you're away, just try and roughly equate the volume per muscle group. So and volume just meaning sets, so we know we'll recover appropriately, but we also know we're doing an effective amount of work to move the needle forwards. So that is all check-ins wrapped up for the day. The team's doing very well as a whole, which is great to see. And I just wanted to kind of go through a bit of like an example of a client and what to do if you want to get lean and you want to kind of surpass your previous levels of leanness. So what I look to do for my clients is, like, I've got Louis looking to compete, and when I'm thinking about dieting someone down, I'll make sure to start them off in a reasonable position to diet. So as you'll see from his progress photos, he's started in like a really good starting point. So you can see here, we can see detail in his lower body. We can see vascularity throughout the arms, the delts, the forearms, and this is just after 1 week of dieting. So we've started him off because he's looking to compete this year in a really good start point. So when we're thinking about getting into good condition, your start point will dictate your end point. So make sure as you're like mapping out, maybe when you're looking to diet, you're not taking the mick when it comes to your gaining phase. You're keeping things in a reasonable spot. You're keeping things tidy so that you're not getting excessively soft and you've not got an absolute ton of work to do when you're looking to diet. And my next point when it comes to kind of appetite management when you're in a gaining phase as well, it could apply, is stay busy. Like, see when you're trying to diet and let's say you've got nothing on, you're just twiddling your thumbs, they're going to be the hardest days. So give yourself things to do, give yourself hobbies, give yourself interests, go walks, nice places, occupy your time. Obviously you want to give yourself chill time, downtime, but also don't just sit about all day and count down the hours until your next meal. Keep yourself occupied, give yourself something to focus on, and you'll find your ability to just adhere to a diet is going to be a lot easier. So make sure you put that in place, and I'll catch up when I'm eating my next meal. So meal 2 was 120, oh, not 120 grams of chicken, sorry. Meal 2 was 40 grams of whey protein, 100 grams of berries. I had that earlier, and what I'd done with the whey is I turn it into like a paste, which is pretty much when you just mix a little bit of water with it. You make it thick enough so it's like a paste, as the word describes, and then I just pour it over the berries, which is kind of like a nice kind of like sauce sort of thing. And then the berries are just frozen, which is quite good from like a cost efficiency point of view, and just convenient. It means it's not going to spoil or that. I get most of my fruit and veg frozen, with some exceptions. And with the third meal, I have now got 120 grams of chicken, 100 grams of rice, and also 100 grams of green veg, and 20 grams dark chocolate. So another tip when it comes to managing your appetite throughout the dieting phase is keep your protein high. So we know there's benefits above 2 grams per kilogram of body weight of protein, and we know that protein is one of the most satiating macronutrients. So increasing your protein when you're in a dieting phase can be a great idea for that reason, even if you don't need necessarily that amount. And also another benefit of it is or a potential downside of it, sorry, is when protein is very high, sometimes it means not getting enough carbs and fats in your diet. That's when I'd then advise not going above that mark, if that makes sense. So if you're feeling like maybe your performance is suffering, you've not got enough carbs, maybe decrease protein, increase your carbohydrates, and make sure you've got like appropriate amount of fat for hormonal function. A good rule of thumb's round about half your body weight in kilograms of fat. That's not a bad place to be in. And I definitely wouldn't go any lower than kind of like 30 to 40 grams for like an extended period of time. So it's currently 6 o'clock and I've just finished and got back from personal training and also doing some steps on the treadmill while at the gym. I have my fourth meal of the day, which is 150 grams of salmon, 150 grams of mixed vegetables, and also 100 grams of white basmati rice. And another tip when it comes to appetite management in a dieting phase is think about having high fibre foods. So, for example, if I found my satiety wasn't in the best spot for this diet, you can just suck it up. But and that's something that's quite lost nowadays. Just if you're hungry, it's no reason to overeat. If you're tired, it's no reason to skip the gym. Just because you feel a certain way doesn't justify not having good adherence. However, you can swap like white rice for potato and make other swaps throughout your days. Just foods that are a bit more voluminous with less calories and foods that have a bit more fibre in them, like having oats instead of cereal, for example, too. So, and having like brown bread instead of white bread, having high fibre wraps instead of normal wraps. So, making swaps to drive up greater satiety can be a great idea when you're dieting. So, that's something you can also consider. As well as just our habits surrounding digestion and eating, like being present when we're eating our meals, making sure we chew our food excessively, we're not rushing anything, will also help provide more satiety, because when you're not present when you're eating, when you're rushing your food, you don't get the same feelings of fullness. So that's something to bear in mind when it comes to your nutrition. It's not just what you eat that will cause satiety, but it's how you eat as well. So yeah, I'm going to eat this meal, and also I'm doing some learning on the J3U website or member site, sorry. I bought their level 1 course, which is great, and it just goes through basically everything you need to know for physique development and taking clients through like a contest prep and building tissue. So I'm enjoying that course right now. It's great, and I highly recommend it for anyone who's wanting to improve their education. It's not the cheapest, but it's an investment. That's the way I look at it.
Welcome back to the contest prep module. Last time we were talking about the pre-peak week.
So just boxing off the last of the steps now, and another tip when it comes to managing your appetite and hunger during a dieting phase is thinking about the food texture. So it's shown that foods that require more chewing, that are a bit firmer, are going to be more satiating than foods that are a bit softer. So what does this mean? This means when we're opting for certain foods, you can choose, let's say, steak instead of 5% mince. We can choose just like solid foods instead of maybe getting turkey mince, chicken mince. When you're having potato, you can have a baked potato. You can maybe make chips in the air fryer instead of having mashed potato. We can have, let's say, fruit instead of smoothies. So you can think about all these wee swaps that you can do to drive more satiety, like having almonds instead of almond butter. And all these wee little things do will and truly add up. So there are wee adjustments you can think about making. And also, if you're making something like oats, if you're making something like cream of rice, if you've ever had that, you can put more water in it for one, and that will drive up the overall volume of the food you're consuming, because we know food volume plays a big part in our satiety levels. And you can also think about making them a bit more thick. So instead of, let's say, not really microwaving it much, making it quite thin, you can instead thicken it up by cooking it more, and then that's going to again drive more satiety, and that can maybe hold true for other foods. So that's a good few tips for you to put in place. And yeah, it's been a good day. So it's a rest day, a Sunday, bit of a quieter day for myself in terms of work, hence why or to be fair, it's not that quiet. I had 5 PT sessions, I think 7 or 8 online client check-in, so quite a busy day, but I wanted to record a rest day, full day of eating, and I'm not really able to do that much on a Thursday just because it's even busier. So yeah, hope the wee tips helped in regards to nutrition. So yeah, plan of action now, and what I've done today basically was personal train, online coach check-in, sorry, and then done some studying, done my steps, done some Instagram content, also filmed a video for my clients that is on how to stay consistent with your nutrition on a busy schedule. So that's something that I'm going to be trying to do regularly. just create educational resources, and something I've already done a ton of. I've not done much recently. The reason being is I've just not had much topics and ideas to talk about, and I'm not just going to talk about rubbish for the sake of it, only when I think it's going to actually be valuable for clients. So yeah, got that done, and yeah, it's been a productive weekend, so happy days. And gonna box some more steps off, and then it's time for meal number 5, which I'll be sure to document. So we're sitting down for the 5th and final meal of the day, which is 100 grams of oats, 40 grams of whey, and also 100 grams of berries, just like a berry mix you can get frozen from Aldi, nice and convenient, and a good way to get many micronutrients in your diet. So yeah, I personally, I like something sweet to wrap up the day. Like, I'd rather this over something like mince, like what I have for breakfast. So I've kind of got a bit backwards, having porridge for my last meal and then mince for my first. But yeah, it's what I like, and it's nice and good. It's nice having like oats pre-bed, just because they're pretty satiating. So it means you're not hungry, you're not craving anything, and you get something sweet at the end of the night. And especially with like having your last meal, especially when you get leaner and leaner, sometimes not having carbs pre-bed can have a negative impact on your ability to sleep. So that's another benefit of having something slow digesting, something with fibre in it and maybe some fat in that pre-bed meal, as well as carbohydrates. So I'm going to eat this and wrap up the video here. So thanks very much everyone who watched the video. If you did enjoy it, leave a like, subscribe, and drop me a comment. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.